Brother Giocondo believes in the power of words. He comes from the sunny south, and in his native language, the vowels roll and dance in his speeches. Like no other, he understands how to use his voice as an instrument. Bright and clear as a trumpet, his words resound in his sermons. Deep and solemn, his words during confession. Simple and impressive during the transformation. No one understands how to captivate the congregation like he does. He does not use vain adornment. His voice is a tool of God. He raises his voice only in his name. Inconspicuous in life, it seems as if his powers only come to fruition before the community. More than once I have seen him, shy and modest, performing his prayers in the courtyard of the church building. Inconspicuous, like a shadow, he glides past his brothers, his head bowed, deep in thought. If a stranger were to come to our monastery, he would not give Brother Giocondo a second glance. His gaze would glide without interest over his slender figure, searching for someone taller, more impressive. His demeanor, indeed his whole being, changes during the sermon. His words fill the church with a powerful resonance. Strength and humility radiate from his words. Those who look at him then see a man deeply imbued with the heavenly spirit, a preacher, a shepherd of God. Jesus himself left no books behind, no texts of his sermons. Of course, Brother Giocondo adds, we don't know that for sure. Of course, the Son of God possessed this ability. He was certainly also a brilliant writer. Nevertheless, he considered it right to speak his words and not to write them down. The reason for this is unknown to us. The ways of the Lord are often inexplicable. He, Giocondo, had thought long and hard about the meaning of the appreciation of words. He believes he has found an answer. He did not dare to write a treatise on the subject for fear of arousing the curiosity of heretics about his thoughts. A word spoken by the wise man means something completely different in the speeches of seducers. He explained his thoughts to me. I have never been entirely sure whether I understood him correctly. Text in books, he explained, is unchangeable, always fixed and immutable. Human beings, however weak and fickle, do not recognize truth in its absoluteness, but from moment to moment. One day the word speaks to them, and the seeker feels strengthened in their faith. The same word, however, at a time of spiritual crisis, seems oppressive and alien. By speaking his words at that moment, the Savior evoked the truth in his listeners at that moment. The shared word, the divine word, spoke directly to the disciples and believers. The shared spirit heard the shared word. From this, the seed of shared truth later grew. He must have seen from my face that I had not understood what he had said in such wise and measured words. He looks at me, begins to sigh, but skillfully turns it into a clearing of his throat. Perhaps you will understand it this way. He tries again. A group of Christian men are eating and drinking together in a tavern. Their enjoyment turns into gluttony, a drinking binge. If a holy book were to lie on the table in this tavern, do you think these men would grasp the meaning of the holy words? I don't think so, I replied cautiously. He nodded. Our Savior knew and knows our souls and our weaknesses. He would not have spoken to these men, for they would not have understood his words. He would have spoken to them the next day, when their minds and bodies had settled down again. His words would have reached these men. That is the power of words. When people change, words must also change. From moment to moment, that is the only way we learn the truth. The words in books, however, cannot change. They always remain the same. So you dream, I tried my hand at being a philosopher, of books whose words change, always rearranging themselves into a new order. That would indeed be the best thing. A book that recognizes its reader and arranges its words in such a way that it reaches its reader. One touch of the book would be enough to change all the pages and words. But wouldn't that change your faith? If everything changes? My good Medoras, the truth of faith does not lie in the correct arrangement of written words. The truth of faith is not changed by words. It is the divine order that we proclaim. Words and letters are human. Faith and truth are divine. No writer, no book can change that. What about a skilled orator? Could he proclaim a false truth? A skilled orator, yes, but then he would not be a good orator, and not a pious orator. With these words, he ends our scholarly dispute. I often think about this conversation. To this day, I am not sure if I understood him correctly, and I have more and more doubts about his unshakable belief in the power of words. Wouldn't our entire dispute have disappeared like a leaf in the wind if I hadn't written it down years later? Would anyone else know about our conversation? Wouldn't that be proof of the effective power of books, of the written word? Or, I keep thinking, is there something else I don't understand? Could it be that the words of a speech don't just disappear, formless air in the wind? Are words more like leaves that are carried by the wind, but then sink back to the earth and gather in piles of leaves? What if words are more than leaves? They swirl across the earth, never falling to the ground, always there, whispering their message in dreams and prophecies to other people. Are prophets and fortune-tellers just people who have the gift of hearing and repeating these words? Can a sermon delivered years ago still leave its mark years later? Could it be? And with these words I tried to restrain and slow down the power of my thoughts. Could it be that the words once spoken by the Savior here among us mortals on earth still have an effect? Are his words divine wisdom? Are his words our faith, which we carry in our souls? The night is dark. My thoughts are becoming more and more confused. I will try to get some more sleep and not further disturb my soul. Another thought that keeps me awake is what I thought. The reason why Brother Giocondo did not try to write down his words, because they may be divine or even heretical. What, I suddenly realize, if what I thought and dreamed are actually his words? His words, which he never put on paper for fear of heretical interpretation. His words, his thoughts are within me. I cannot understand them, cannot interpret them, but I will write them down. That is what I intend to do. One day I will write all of this down. One day in the future, another monk will read my words and hear my voice. This words will live in the future. May God grant that it will be a time of peace and learning. And so, through this words, Brother Giocondo will live forever.